We're going to start the Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting Tuesday, September the 19th, 2017, and call the meeting to order. The invocation, the invocation will be done if Lance Thompson would like to do that, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be by Bo Ives.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for all the many rich blessings you've bestowed upon us. Please forgive us for all our sins. We know they are many. Guide us and protect us and help us make good decisions for the citizens of Horry County. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay. We need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? We've approved the agenda. We need approval of minutes of August 22nd, 2017, the regular meeting.
I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? We've approved the minutes of August 22nd. We have no public input, so we will go immediately into the departmental reports and updates, and the first one will be recycling and corporate affairs. That'll start on page 14.
Good evening.
Well, hello.
As Ms. Creech indicated, my report begins on page 14. We're going to begin with an update on the McDowell Recycling Center relocation project. We were on schedule and on target to reopen the center this coming Saturday, the 23rd, up until yesterday afternoon, and got notice from our contractor that the final paving that was supposed to occur today would not be occurring until Monday. Last week's potential storm caused some delay, whereby they demobilized the Friday prior to the onset of the storm and did not remobilize until this past Thursday. So it did kind of push things out some. We are hopeful that the center will open no later than September 30th. That's the following Saturday. We're hopeful that hopefully maybe by Thursday, Friday, we'll be able to get it open, but no later than the 30th. So that's what we're on target for. Annual progress report. Once again, it's time for us to complete the necessary forms and documents and submit to DHEC in order to determine the recycling rate for Horry County as a whole. Counties, government agencies, schools are required to submit this information by September 14th, so our information did go in. Businesses have until mid-October to complete this. When you see the chart that's included in your packet, it indicates how many surveys we received that were completed. The completed surveys to DHEC online, because businesses do have the opportunity to do that online as opposed to doing a paper form and submitting it to us. The 6 that's listed, no Horry County Recycling, those are 6 companies that are no longer doing business in Horry County, so there's nothing to report for them. And the biggest number, the 79, are 79 responses that have not been submitted to date as far as we know. So we did send out 143 requests for information, and we'll know next spring how Horry County has fared in the past fiscal year with regard to recycling rates and tonnages.
It's really hard to do without those 79 to get a clear picture, wouldn't you say?
And the 79 have until mid-October to submit this information.
Okay.
They can send it in to us still. We can still log it on their behalf. They can do it themselves online. They can submit it directly to DHEC. But remember, and I say this every year, businesses are not required
Right.
to report. So, yeah, it's very difficult if everybody doesn't report to get a true picture of what's going on in the county.
Happens about every year, though. I mean, the authority sends them in or do not send them in at all. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to, at the end of October, when the time they finished, I'd like to see a list of the ones that haven't.
I'll have to see if that's something we can provide. DHEC, one of the, I don't want to call it an incentive, but that's what it comes out to be. An incentive to businesses to report is that their information is held confidential. So I can probably give you a name, but probably no more than that,
That.
just the name.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Okay.
all I want.
Okay, very good. Upcoming events information. This takes us from September through the end of the year. This one had several dates we wanted to hopefully get on your calendar. I know several of you are planning on attending the Green Tie Luncheon tomorrow. For those of you who are going, we're going to be leaving from this building tomorrow morning at 8:30 sharp. So that we, sharp, so that we,
Anybody name?
No, didn't mention no name.
no names
You going,
required.
Thompson?
Yeah.
Oh,
So the plan is to leave, so we can get there by 11
Yeah.
sharp. On this coming Saturday, Keep Horry County Beautiful will begin their Secure Your Load tarp giveaway. This is something that they've been working on since last year, and we're going to start this by kicking it off at the Carolina Forest Recycling Center. Not in your packet, but on the screen, there's a picture of the exit gate right now at Carolina Forest, and it has a sandwich sign right there as you're leaving, indicating that the free tarp giveaway will be this Saturday from 3 to 5. Quantities are limited to 100 per center. And also, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but on the back gate, kind of in the middle, there's a new banner that's in the process of being hung up at every recycling center. And it's a Secure Your Load reminder, just reminding residents. And it's on the way out because by the time you got there, if it wasn't secure, there's no need to secure it. Now you're getting rid of it. So it's just a reminder to those leaving to please secure their load when they're on the road.
That was designed by the students at the Academy of Arts and Technology in Carolina Fort.
Did a great job. So that'll be the kickoff, and then the next few Saturdays, as listed in this event's information, there will be a tarp giveaway. The next one will be at Jackson Bluff Recycling Center, followed by McDowell, and then at the Browntown and Homewood Recycling Centers on October 14th. October 21st, Horry County Community Cleanup will be held. Again, this is headed up by Keep Horry County Beautiful, along with Horry County Planning Department. Mr. Boabs is doing a great job in getting this in motion and on its way. We had a delay last year because of a hurricane. We're hoping that doesn't occur this year. At each of your place settings, I left you a copy of the flyer that's being distributed at the recycling centers, just to encourage people to register and participate. The kickoff party will be here following the cleanup. And, you know, if y'all, after you clean up, you know, come on out. And somebody's going to be having hot dogs and something to drink and some chips, I think. But all
Reminder, it is the county council's event. We're simply,
y'all doing a lot with this
we-
event. You're doing a lot with this event. November 3rd is the date of our annual employee dinner. Will be at 7 p.m. and it will be held at Cherry Hill Missionary Baptist Church. And we'll send you out additional reminders as we get a little closer. Another reminder, last month at the board meeting, we moved the November board meeting to November 21st, 5:30. Just want to make sure you have that on your calendars. And the December board meeting, which is usually held early in the month, will be on December 7th at 3 p.m. My last update is on the Caught Green-Handed recipient for the month of August, Mr. Burton Bowman. Was busy recycling down at the McDowell Shortcut Recycling Center. So we got him right before we started pulling up everything out the center. Not in my packet, but I did want to thank several staff members. Even though we were not majorly affected by Hurricane Irma, the way the track went, one day we were going to get hit dead center, you know, the next day maybe not, the next day maybe so. People in Horry County are very proactive. So as soon as I think the word hurricane was mentioned, everybody started cleaning up. So our recycling centers got hit very hard. That Wednesday on through, I think it finally calmed down some Sunday afternoon. I mean, to the point where it was even hard to even close the centers at night. It just was an overload of bulk waste material coming in. So special thanks to our staff out there at the recycling centers because they had a lot to deal with, even though we really weren't that affected by the storm. Also, special thanks to the landfill department as well as the finance department. That Saturday, we anticipated getting hit hard. It was a beautiful day. People spent most of that day, as far as I know, cleaning. That's what we felt anyway. And we did work together to leave the landfill open till about 4:30 that afternoon, which worked great for us. We were able to bring an additional 15 loads in that day. So absolutely great teamwork here, and I do appreciate everything that both divisions did. Any questions?
Not a question, just I've been noticing in the last month or so.
Mr. Gray, you need to do your mic.
I've been noticing in the last month or so that, I'm sure it was there before, but the ads, for lack of a better term, that you all have been doing on our behalf, and I think they're excellent. They're excellent in the sense of where they've been spotted, in other words, who we're associated with, like one of them here is CCU football game, but I know some of the high school games are on there. And then at other times, in other words, it's a targeted audience.
Yes.
And I get that. And the ads are very professionally done. Sometimes local folks, they have ads, but they're stupid. I mean, they just laugh at them. But ours are yours. They're really done nicely. Anyway, I want to, and that's all. That all comes in for $75,000. I mean, the whole 9 yards. It's the best, the highest compliment I can give. I think that's money well spent and not wasted at all. It's done right.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Operations and planning.
Good evening to everybody.
Hello.
Good to see y'all tonight. Some of our normal updates and a couple extra ones. Our driver of the month for this month was Kevin Jenkins, City of Myrtle Beach. You can see he's pretty laid back, pretty tickled to get the award right there. One early morning, Chris got him. Sun hadn't been up too long, but again, he's one that works with staff and the scale house up there real good and cooperates really good where we need him to go. So he was a good nominee for us. Our landfill gas expansion, we've awarded the contract to Tricon out of Houston. They were the lowest responsible bidder. The references were checked. Everything came back really good on them. If you read some of my information that I had in the board packet, we do have a little bit of delay being that they were headquartered in Houston. And when our gas engineer contacted them, wasn't anybody there. They were flooded out, and we were asked, could we, delay it for just about 5 days? And with everything we all saw on TV, I mean, it was a no-brainer. You had to do it. The next bid was like $500,000 more. So waiting 5 days, made a lot of financial sense to us. So, but anyway, we did get with Tricon. We gave them notice of award, and the notice to proceed was given yesterday. So they've got 120 days to do substantial, and then 150 for completion. We're hopeful we'll see them out here within the next week on the landfill out here. The only little holdup might be some of the HDPE pipe for the wells, the gas wells out there. Situation with that, most of that is manufactured at the Gulf Coast right down there at Houston too, so that slowed them up a little bit. So they may ask for a little extension, but they can come in and start doing some well drilling and some of the other piping out there. So, anyway, it's one of those human things, you just feel the need to kind of work with them a little bit, especially, we're just blessed that we didn't have that come in here.
That's true. Mr. Campbell?
How many bids did you have?
We had 3.
Had 3 bids?
Uh-huh.
Any from our part of the world, or were they all from afar off?
Yeah, there was Tricon, I think there was one maybe out of Ohio, and I can't remember where the other one might have come from.
So Ohio, Houston, and
I can't recall the headquarters of the other.
but our consultant did say it was the largest gas contract that had been let, and
Second largest for this year, and one of the things we put in there, since it's such a big one, you had to have some experience doing this much work. You know, we couldn't have let Mr. Campbell come in and bid on it, you know, since he had never done it before. So we had to have someone with big experience, and you know, and I mean that sincerely. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
We didn't want to get anybody just, you know,
Sure.
Joe's
Bait shop.
repair
Yeah.
shop come in here and start doing it for us.
what was the bid, Tricon's bid?
After we finished with it, it was 1.6 million.
1.6 million.
Right. And we're really looking forward to this update out here. Our system out there now, we have a lot of problems with our wells getting watered in. This system is designed to separate the leachate from the gas out there. So we feel like we're going to have a whole lot more gas, and it should, I want to say, maybe have less maintenance. On the other hand, it could have more really watching, you know, the pumps and all that a whole lot closer. But we're real excited to get this thing on board.
Does a project also include augmenting any of the existing system?
Yeah, we'll be doing some re-drills out there. I think there's 10 wells. We had to cut it back to 2, from 12 to 10, but we'll be doing 10 of those re-drills out there also. And there'll be some pump replacements also going on out there.
And they think that we can recover more than what we have been doing from our
Oh, yes,
existing,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir. And where most of the work's gonna be done, that's where we just came off the top of the solid waste out there, so it's all that good, fresh garbage out there. It should produce a lot of gas. So, all right, let's see,
I just wanted to ask, I don't guess we've ever dealt with this group before.
no, sir.
It's a new relationship.
Right. They were checked out really good, and the gas engineers worked with them before on other projects
Oh, good.
across the country, and he's very comfortable with them.
Thank you.
The pre-construction meeting, I'm sure.
We'll be setting that up, either tail end of this
Well,
week
excuse
or
me,
the
not the
first
pre-
next week.
Not the pre-construction.
Rebid.
Yeah, no, we'll be-
Pre-bid.
No, we've already had that.
No,
We-
but I said there was a pre-bid.
Oh, yes. sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Anything that big, we want to see who the players are. when they
Well,
come
true,
to bid.
sure.
Hurricane Irma update. Thank goodness we didn't get a whole lot, but just a little bit about that. We did have 3.45 inches of rain here at the landfill. Since the 1st of August, we've had 27.05 inches. 27 inches of rain on this landfill. Piggyback, it got really wet because all the trucks that were coming in, not only did we have all the rain, but they were bringing a lot of liquid in. And so we had to move back up to our dry area, or wet area, we call it, up top. We stayed up there for about 10 days, and we moved back down. Late last week, we moved back into the piggyback down here. So our staff had met together, operations staff, everybody knew what everybody was doing. We were very well prepared if we needed to. Our roads stayed in excellent shape. And so it was handled very well. We did have inspection today, and everything was thumbs up even after all that rain. So real proud of staff for what they did out there. Last thing, if you remember, if you attended the SWANA conference, they were talking about having a day of safety when we were there. And so that was all put together. It was actually scheduled for last Tuesday, but with the storm coming in, they put it off to this week. And there was 22 landfills that participated. We were one of them. Most of them were your private, but there was about 5 or 6 of the public landfills. They wanted to reach 2,500 collection drivers out there. That was the goal today. They had sent out these cards, and they had asked us to get a couple pictures here, which we did. We handed one of these out to every driver that came in. It had a little 5 to stay alive on the back and some other stuff about keeping your distance when you're dumping out your truck in the landfill and all that. So we handed those all out to the drivers and hit the next one. And they had sent a sign out. We put it up there. So it was like, South Carolina SWANA Safety Awareness Day. So we participated in that. And so they had asked for some pictures, so we got those back to them today. So they really appreciated that. And I think that went, really well. Anything you can do for safety is, that's the best thing we can do every day is be safe out there. So, any questions?
I agree with you. That is the best thing we can do is be safe out there. And I'm assuming you haven't thought of anything in the $1.2 million thing we're fixing to do that any of our employees need to be safe while they're working in these gas fields and areas?
We're going to have our pre-con meeting, and we'll go through all that with the contractor, with Tricom when they get here. And we know one thing, we'll probably be putting our deodorizer spray up there because they'll be digging real deep into the garbage, and we
Right.
anticipate that. And we've got 3 or 4 of the rattlers, we call them, where if they're around enough gas or something, they'll alert the employees. The supervisors will have them riding around the landfill out there. And most of it's going to be away.
Okay.
Most all the work is we're down on the piggyback, and they're going to be working up on the slope and the top of where we come off. So it shouldn't be anywhere close, and it should be some good ventilation, call it that, so employees.
Gas was more likely
Yeah.
to go up.
They'll go that, yeah. And we're going to put the deodorizer thing on top and crank it, so whatever way the wind is blowing, the smell good stuff will go with it also, hopefully to try and keep that to a minimum out there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Evening in O'Ree. Till it.
Finance and Administration?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Like we are through the first 2 months of this year. We should be at about 16.66% of our budget. I'm going to begin on page 29, just kind of going over a few summary items there. As you can see in the middle of the page, we continue with our tipping fees to remain above budget, which is great. Our solid waste is at 57% of budget, mixed construction at 29.6% of budget, and our yard waste is just a little bit below at 14.32% of budget. And down below, if you continue down on the recyclable sales, they're currently at 24.67% of budget. As you can see, the C&D processing facility, their revenue year-to-date is $51,707.14, and their expenses are at $59,007.55. Just a slight deficit there, currently of $7,300.41, but they have saved just in 2 months 11.1 days of landfill airspace, which is amazing. The materials recycling facility, along with the collection and hauling program, currently their revenue year-to-date is $1,233,660.85, with their expenses being $778,438.52. They currently have revenue over expenses year-to-date of $455,222.33. Of course, Murph is doing an amazing job. Mike continues to watch the commodity prices and sell as much as he can when he can. They also, for 2 months, have saved 8.97 days of landfill airspace. So again, like I said, doing a great job with their expenses and with the revenue and with the landfill days of airspace.
So 2 months of operation, we're getting close to $500,000.
Right, yes, sir. But now, like I said, we're in our first couple of months, which, like I said, usually July is very lean, so we'll see where we go from there. I know Mike's gonna also talk to you about some of the commodity prices have dropped, so hopefully this will kind of help cover some of that.
But, you know, compared to this time last year and for the ongoing months for a while, I know that Danny was real tough with, what's that man's name down in Charleston? Quigley? It sounds like something out of a cartoon. I'm sorry, don't put that in the minutes. But he was tough with negotiating, and we learned some lessons and put them into renewal, and it's working. But what we hoped would be the case last year is the case. And I know we may not clear nearly $500,000 every 2 months going forward, but that's really remarkable news.
Yes, sir, it is. You're exactly right. Over on page 31, just taking a look at the current income statement, total operating revenue, like I said, as you can see, is at 21.52% of budget, and the expenses are at 15.23% of budget. So again, like I said, staff is continuing to watch their expenses, keeping those below budget, and our revenue remains above budget. As you can see, for the month, revenue was over expenses by $632,713.66, and year-to-date, $1,540,536.23. Jump over to page 35.
Excuse me, I just want to ask.
Yes, sir.
And that's just cash on cash money. That's not in comparison to budget or anything else. That's just hard, cold dollars.
That is, but it is compared to budget. When I give you the percentages, that is compared to budget. You know, our revenue is over budget and our expenses are below budget currently. But it is just a cash basis. Yes, sir.
I mean, that 632 and year-to-date, 1.5 million,
That means
money in the bank.
that's right. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
On page 35, I just kind of wanted to point out kind of where we are with our actual tonnage. As you can see, the solid waste is a little bit over last year. The same time, we have seen a slight increase of 0.33%, with our biggest increase being in the mixed construction. As you can see, it's at 7.62% of an increase over last year this same time. So we're glad to see those increases staying above. As you can see, yard waste is slightly below where we were last year, but like I said, I think maybe as it gets a little bit, cools down a little bit, people maybe get outside a little bit more. And then just gonna take a look over at the MRF information on page 43. Again, like I said, they did have a good month at the MRF. The average price for the month on the commodities was $205.12. That is below last month. Last month it was at $246.09. So we did see a decrease there for sure. The tonnage that we sold was about comparable to last month. As you can see, we sold 2,469.56 tons. Last month it was 2,566.42. The biggest increase you'll see there is the tonnage not sold. There was 940.6 bales on the floor at the end of the month. Prior month was only 625. And so like I said, I will let Mike kind of get into that when he gives his update as to kind of where we are and trying to get that commodity out. But the revenue for the month on the material that was sold was $506,564.17. Moving down to the middle of the page, one of the areas I really want to point out to you is you remember our new contract started with Charleston August 1st. So starting August 1st, we sent back all of the rejects above 14.5% of our material, which is why you'll see down there the rejects hauled to Charleston were 1,291.64 tons that we hauled back to Charleston. So as you can see right above that, 284.31 are the tonnage of rejects that actually went into the landfill for this month. Last month we set 622.25, but with a new contract, like I said, we only sent 284.31 tons. And as you can see, that was 14.79%. Wasn't exactly 14.5%. What Mike and them are going to do is, of course, track that all year, and we'll get it all trued up, have it right at the 14.5%, as close as we can get to it, of course, by the end of the year. But that's pretty much right on the mark. Like I said, they're doing a good job of tracking that. As you can see, due to the cost share, we did pay Charleston $24,618.22 this month. which brings the total revenue for the month $481,945.95, and the total expenses of $345,559.88. Revenue over expenses for the month of $136,386.07. And year-to-date, we have revenue over expenses of $486,362.96. So like I said, they're doing a good job over there. Like I said, Mike continues to watch it, and I appreciate it. Just a couple things for you. Like I said, we did have our auditor here, David DeCleva was here a week ago, working on our audit. He's finished everything on site. He's taking everything back to finalize it. Again, very complimentary of our staff, and I can't say enough about them. Without them, I don't know how we do it. But they always stay on top of everything, and he's always very complimentary of the fact that we have everything together and ready for him and prepared. It makes it easier on us and easier on him. So hopefully we'll have that to present to you in October at the Finance Committee meeting and, of course, at the board meeting. We also had our workers' comp auditor here as well. Again, that went fine. Like I said, he went through everything. Everything looked good. Again, I have to commend Nanette. She always has everything ready for him as far as our certificates of liability insurance. So, like I said, everything went smoothly on that. So that's a good report for you. Just one other thing, Nanette wanted me to remind you that on October 10th, we will be having flu vaccines here from 8 to 10 in the morning. So if you'd like a flu vaccine on October 10th, be here that morning. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you
Yeah,
have one, Dan? I think-
some people in this crowd are older, and you're supposed to get one with A behind it. Don't get the regular one. Like Mike here, he needs to get the,
The older one?
yeah.
Wait a minute now, hold.
I didn't say that, he did.
No, I saw it on TV, so I made sure I got the old one. I mean, for old people.
I'm telling you.
Thank you.
No, that's true, I'm telling you. I mean,
Recycling and special
That's good
projects.
information.
They charge you the Medicare anyway.
Yeah, that's good information. Who's in charge of that?
You just go to the drugstore, they'll do it.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
We've had a pretty challenging month at the MRF this month. We had a hurricane, and we didn't receive any material from Charleston for 3 full days. And so therefore, we didn't run but partial shifts some days, and some days we didn't run but 1 shift, and some days we shut down. We just didn't have enough material to operate on, and we shut down and did that. They notified us on a Thursday before the storm that we would not get anything on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We'd not get anything until Thursday the following week. And
But after the storm, was everything really wet after all their flooding and?
well, they took a lot of stuff to the landfill because it was so wet. We asked them not to bring us stuff that was real soaking wet, because basically what we were doing is picking it back out and carrying it right back out and throwing it in the thing, and it was being shipped right back to them.
Right.
So they did a good job in that, and I have to give David, he's pretty easy to work with down there. He's my counterpart down there, and he does an excellent job. If I got a problem, I can always call him, and he does everything he can to help me. So, but as we said, we've had since the thing, we've been taking more loads per day because we got caught up. We run everything and got caught up. Our problem right now is that we're having a lot of material that we cannot get rid of. Our prices for this month in fiber dropped almost $20 a ton in pricing.
Say that again?
Our fiber pricing dropped an average of about $20 a ton for regular material, and because some of it's so wet, some of it dropped $60 and $70 a ton. So if it's wet, they're paying a lot less for it.
From one month to the next.
Yes, and we anticipated. I had somebody from Sunoco tell me that they had 120 tractor trailer loads at Hartsville sitting on the ground that they had, or not sitting on the ground, truckloads that they did not intend to unload because there was such a glut of it. China wasn't taking anything from the East Coast due to the storm, it being so wet. So it's been real hard to get rid of. Most of ours being wet. If you would turn around and I'll show you a couple pictures and try to explain to you what this is. This is our tipping floor. This is all cardboard right here we got stacked in that area. Normally this is where we bring the commingle in and store it. We got one little area right here we working out of. This is the area where that pre-sort room is. You can see we got it stacked here. Got newspaper stacked over here, more cardboard here. That's another picture of the same area. I could show you the new baler we got installed and running good, but it's all surrounded by paper.
You got
Got
a
it
good
back
price
into it.
on that.
Sir?
You got a good price on that baler.
Yeah.
We're expecting to spend 530 million on it, and you, 530,000 on it rather, and you spent 463,800. Good job.
That's what a good bid war do for you every once in a while. And you can see we got aluminum stacked here. We've never stacked aluminum over in this area, but we have aluminum stacked here, and you can see the new baler bringing it out here. This is where we normally stack it. This is our normal storing area. This is the electronics building. It's full. You can see we got it stacked outside. Even the electronics, we stacking them outside because we don't have a place to put them. And this is where we stacking our plastic. We currently have about 30 loads as of this morning of OCC on the floor, 866 bales, about 17 loads of news, and about 192 bales of scrap plastic. So far this month, usually by the middle of the month, we're around 250, 260,000 in revenue sales. As of this afternoon, we're at 155. All the money's sitting in there inside the building, and we are having, we're getting some of it out. We're getting 6 or 8 loads a day out. It's hard to find the markets for the wet material. The only option is to let it dry, but I have no place for it to dry. So we've got to get rid of it, and we sell it for whatever, $188 a ton for good dry cardboard, $106 a ton for wet cardboard. Today we got price for wet newspaper at 65 versus where we're getting paid 138 for it otherwise. So definitely the rain is hurting us. But it's something the good Lord's give us, and we got to learn to live with it. But there ain't much we can do with it.
Campbell's going to bring his hairdryer over here
Yeah.
and grind some of that
Just
stuff out.
start working on it, huh?
Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah,
I have a question about page 48, the graphs that you've presented to us.
Okay.
It's remarkable how consistent your loads are. Our MSW peaks in the summer,
Yeah.
but yours is consistent throughout.
And that's pretty much because we can increase Charleston and decrease Charleston as we need to.
Okay.
Charleston generates about 3,400 tons a month. So when ours go up, we push theirs down because we can only do so much.
I was wondering how you were managing that.
So that's the reason you see that number stay pretty consistent. See, like in the summer, sometimes we weren't able to take but 9 or 10 loads a day from them. Right now, since our market's going down, we go in 12 loads a day and running out every night, and they can't get us no more than 12 loads a day.
Thank you.
That looks like a good ad for needing storage. Is that what that is?
Well, the main reason for telling you,
I think.
the main reason for
Yeah.
telling you that when the revenue prices drop dramatically low that month because we hadn't been able to get rid of, and what we got rid of, we're selling at a lower rate. You understand why the revenue drop was. Number one, we got it on the inside of the building. Number two is that it's wet, and the prices are dramatically lower.
Chairman anticipated, my thought was, and I know you run numbers all the time, maybe you get sick of it, but could you take a period of time, be it a year or 6 months or whatever, and say, well, had we been able to dry store this material, we would have made this much more money. And, money talks.
Yeah, well, that's kind of hard to do because the prices go up and down all the time. You could base it on a certain price, but you could base it on an average price, but that'd be it. But typically you lose somewhere around $30 to $40 a ton for wet material, unless the market is glutted right now in wet material. When it's wet, it goes domestic to the United States. It's not shipped overseas because it will mold and mildew going overseas in them containers. And then when it gets over there, they just fine you back for it or tell you to bring it back, and you can't afford to bring it back, so you end up giving it to them. So when it gets inside those containers, it takes 3 months for it to get to China. So it'll mold and mildew and everything else inside those containers. So you can take a 50% loss, $50 per ton on the high side, and between $30 and $40 a ton on the low side for wet paper.
Are you saying it wouldn't be feasible to do it on a month-by-month basis, to try to deal with those fluctuations in the market or weather?
I can try. I'll be glad to look at it.
I don't want to throw a bunch of work on you,
Yeah.
but what Chairman was saying is that if we can show ourselves in county council that, hey, we can get this building paid for in short order and then put more money in for closure and post-closure.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we're not getting full price because we're just not keeping it
Yeah.
dry.
Well, we've got money in the budget to build a building. We just don't have the property right now to build it on where we want to put it. We're trying to work through that with Riverstone.
You got money in the budget and then what you say, I'm sorry, I don't have my,
The building that we'd like to build it and where we'd like to build it at behind the MRF, so it'd be close proximity to where the operation's going on.
yeah.
We're trying to secure some property behind it to do that with, because we don't own the property directly behind it.
Okay, you've anticipated what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You just gotta get a place to put it.
Right.
Okay.
We got places out there to put it, it'd just be too far to haul it away from where the main operations are.
Right, we've been discussing that in different plans, and and where it's gonna go. And like he said, we just don't have the property where we'd like for it to go yet.
Well, big word you get is wave enough money at
All right. Any other
Everybody thinks we flush with it.
Any more questions, Mr. Bezel? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good job. Executive Director?
Thank you, ma'am. First item is Grand Strand Water and Sewer. You remember, they came to us, requested some property adjoining the property they already have on International Drive. And they've agreed to a price of $5,300 per acre for the property. And I think there's been some discussion about the property. And we will figure if we're going to send this to committee or.
I would like to make the motion that we do send this to our planning committee. There's additional information that would be valuable to have from Grand Strand Sewer and Water to understand what their requirements are before we accept this proposal.
I second.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry, Bo, I think my dog ate my hearing aids. What'd you say?
Grand Strand Sewer and Water has not provided a lot of additional information about what they require here. They're willing to pay so little for this land. I'd like to understand a little bit more about what their requirements are. If they're going to be storing an aquifer under the Solid Waste Authority, they need to be aware that we make leachate. And I hope they understand that there's a potential that that aquifer could be polluted.
Could be what?
Polluted by our operations. We do a tremendous job of handling the leachate, but still there's a potential that aquifers would have that, and we need to understand a little bit better about what they're planning to do that close to our operations.
It's underground storage rather than an elevated storage?
An aquifer is defined as
Right.
water-bearing stratum of rock.
Right. I
And it could
understand.
extend for miles.
Right.
And
But-
being so close in proximity to our facility, we need to understand better what their constraints are.
I agree with you.
I would hate to sell this land for so little and then get sued for what we do.
Right, right. Well, we just need some more information about it.
Thank you.
Denny, did you say it's adjacent to property they already own there? How much property do they own out there, you know?
Property is half acre.
Okay. And it's,
The Solid Waste Authority pretty much gave them that piece of property years ago.
and do they have a well on that property now, or
got-
tap, or?
They've got some pumps and
Some pumps,
stuff
okay.
on it now, and they wanted to expand the property for this deep water storage, and but we'll certainly get some of their people here to
Okay.
talk to us.
So the purpose for this land would be different than what the existing land is being used for right now? Okay,
And to
thank you.
also get out of the right-of-way of International Drive. Because
Okay.
the right-of-way has taken in the front part of their property.
Okay.
So
And as
that-
I understand it, it goes to county council for approval, so I think we
Got
ought to
to.
make sure that we understand what we're passing on to them and feel confident that it's a good proposal.
Right,
How many acres are they need?
8 tenths.
8, 10?
8/10 of an acre. Okay, we have a motion to move this to the officers' committee on October the 18th for discussion and to find out more information about that. Do I have a second?
Mike had seconded that already.
Okay, we have a
What
motion.
committee was that?
The officers' committee
Okay.
will be
Planning and
meeting,
operations.
Planning, yeah.
Officers or operations?
corporate planning, the officers.
Okay.
Committee will be on October the 18th, so if we can move this to that committee and invite someone here from Grand Strand Water and Sewer to give us this information.
Please.
Okay, thank you. So, all in favor of this
Aye.
motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? It passes. Thank you very much.
Next item is a contract arrangement with Wayne Floyd's company, Recovery Management Associates. Wayne is no longer with Phillips and Jordan. He's on his own. And we have dealt with Wayne over a number of years, and putting proposals together, debris removal, and all those things. So I felt it was important to have him on standby if in fact we need any work to be done along the FEMA guidelines. And if we need him to do work, we'll develop a scope of services with a number of hours to get the scope of services completed. And I've got a handout. There were some questions about secretarial type duties at this rate, so I'll pass this out. Will be an addendum. It's a non-exclusive contract. If we need him, we call him. If we don't, we don't. And I think it's very important for us to stay within the FEMA guidelines, and I'm sure they will be changing daily with Houston and Florida, and they always do after hurricane. And you've got to have someone that understands the lingo, and Wayne does, and we feel real comfortable with his ability. So with this amendment, I think it's necessary that we have him ready if we need him.
Right, I agree. When you told me you were getting that in anticipation of that, it is amazing, and sometimes bureaucracy is not logical to me, I guess to other people as well, but I have friends in Key West that their homes were devastated, and they were 2 or 3 states over where they had gone to families and had started calling FEMA to make reports, and FEMA said, well, we can't take your report until you're at home. And they weren't even allowing people on to Key West, so I don't understand the logics of that, and I think we need someone, Danny, I'm glad you talked to him, because I think we do need someone that understands that, because we do a lot of work, and we certainly want to get paid for what we've done and not lose out on it because of a technicality.
And with his knowledge and background, certain amount of work that he will do, if we need it done, will be reimbursable.
Go.
And you've just got to know how to phrase it to be reimbursed, and if you don't know, you just and I think, I read where the county, FEMA's kind of backed up a little bit on,
Huge delays on reimbursements to the
Yeah.
county.
and thank goodness it was based on their budget and not anything that we did, or there was problems with the, how we kept
Right.
up with the program, and
Right.
everything has been.
Weren't denying it or declining it, it was just delayed,
That's
but
right.
I think everything was approved, but boy, that's a big amount that's
Yeah, it
getting
is.
delayed.
Be hung there, and
Right,
of course, with Hugo, it took us 8 or 9 years to get that straightened out with FEMA, and, so,
and thank goodness that Horry County is in a position to allow that delay to happen, even though
and live
it'll
with
take,
it.
and live with it, but it'll be a little time. It's not like that, they're not gonna get the money, but that would put some counties out of commission, to not have that reimbursement immediately. Danny, does this replace the arrangement with Phillips and Jordan
No.
now? that
No.
So it's just,
Philip
he's,
Jordan's still on, the other one is still on.
so this is more of a consulting, coordinating,
Yeah. If
kind of
we-
driving the truck.
If
Okay.
we have a problem, with any of those contracts, he would be the guy that would help us
Right.
straighten it out.
Right.
See what the problem was, and any of the list, on this thing, could be a scope of services. All of this would be a scope of services, but it just depends on what we need him to do at a certain time. His time starts when he walks in the door, and it ends when he walks out the afternoon. He pays his food, his lodging, everything is out of this amount. He'll do a daily report, for us while he's here, so.
But he's not paid till we need him, and,
And it's non-exclusive. If John Doe comes in the door and we want to use him and versus him, we've just got him on hand. There's no
But-
retainer fee, anything. It's
right, but
just-
it does give us access to him where
Yeah.
we don't, I mean, he would be sort of obligated to us at that point if we do need him.
That's right.
Versus, yeah.
This is a good opportunity that you're seizing. You had talked to me down in Pawleys Island about all the requirements are with FEMA, and it never ceases to amaze me, the hats that we need to put on to do the work here. I'm hoping a lot of this will be shifted to the county to perform and not on the Solid Waste Authority, but we do need this. And thank you for revising the proposal. When I saw some of the requirements in here, that he was going to collect internal data and contractor vendor data for cost accounting purposes. I saw administrative tasks in here that I didn't want to make sure that there was an administrative rate and compounded with
Yeah.
this. And thank you for
And-
asking him to amend his
And
proposal.
he had no problem with doing that. And when the storm the other day, got to be looking bad, and we knew he wasn't in the picture with Phillips and Jordan, he wasn't in the picture with anyone.
This is an opportune
I felt
time as well.
real lonely, of what we were facing and him not in the picture. So it's a comfort level for me, for Mike, and for the staff. Everybody that's worked with him understands, how good he is, so,
Well, he's been working with us for the last couple of storms, hasn't he?
yeah, he's been
I
here
mean,
many
he's been with
years.
Phillips and Jordan a long time, but he's worked with, huh? What's that? Mm-hmm.
So he's been through a lot with us, and a lot of projects and everything, so, and he lives, this side of Raleigh, so he can be here in a couple hours. So I think it's good for both parties. So. Okay, the solid waste.
Would you like a motion to approve the
Yeah,
proposal?
that'd be
I'd
great.
like to make that motion, Madam Chairman.
Okay, thank you. A motion, do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
The big block of work that we're looking forward to is the solid waste management plan update. We're, put a request on the streets of a professional group to help us do that again. 3 years ago, HDR helped us. Before that, I think Art helped us some, but we put the proposal out. We've contacted the governmental agencies to see if their appointments were still who they wanted to be on the board. There's a 12-member group, 4 from the cities and 4 from the counties, and then the last 4 is kind of selected from the first 2 groups. So I've heard from Surfside, Conway, and the county. So I will contact the rest of them this week and see where they stand on their appointments. We will have the proposals in, we hope. My fear that with Florida and with Texas, a lot of the engineering firms and the consultant groups are going to really be tied up, not only in solid waste, but water and sewer and other type utilities. So hopefully we'll get some response from this, and we're gonna push real hard to be completed by January.
City of North Myrtle Beach has their man in mind. We just, with all the hurricane and all, we just need to have some more conversation with them.
That'd be good. That'd be good. And that,
I'd also like to say about that, we're going to be having those meetings with them, and I realize that the cities and the counties are going to be sending people that will be in this plan. But it was really obvious when we went through the rate increase and we sat down with the individual city mayors and city council people and even some of the county council people, there isn't as much understanding, truly comprehending of what we do here and how it affects them. And I know that these guys go back to the administrator and to the supervisors, and they do things, and they even recommend things. But when we went through a lot of the city mayor and council meetings and then presented to the League of Cities for several hours and stood up and answered their questions, and they certainly have a right to understand these things and a right to ask us to come and explain them, which we did. But these things and this new plan that we're going to be doing is incorporating a plan that we have for the future. And the League of Cities, mayors and council people in our county council, in my opinion, need to play a bigger part than just kind of sending administrators or someone to represent them. They need, and we're going to be sending out a list of these meetings, of times and dates. I want to make sure that the mayors get these, and the city council and the county council, because I have found it very informative for me to sit at meetings and listen to what is going on so that they can truly comprehend and understand the meat of what we want to do in the future, because it's going to affect all of them, monetarily and physically, and the people that they represent. So we are going to not only have the people that are going to be in this plan, but we are going to every time send out these lists to county council and to the mayors and to the city council and welcome them to be here. The Conway mayor would like to be here. I've talked with her. She really enjoyed the meetings we had and going to Pawleys Island. And I know they're busy, there's no doubt about that, but the level of comprehension they would get from attending these, especially with the plans, we're going to be doing some major plans for the future.
That's
in
the
all
point that
areas.
we need to sell to the other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
That this update's required every 3 years, but this is a particularly
Yes,
important
right.
3-year cycle we're coming up on. And we need to communicate the need for their attention.
That's right. And especially those of us, everyone's appointed by county council, but the League of Cities sends their appointees. So those of us that sit on this board, that are appointed by the League of Cities, talk with your mayor, talk with your city council people, and tell them that this is going to be a very important plan and that we welcome their participation and for them to listen and to make suggestions on what they would like to hear. Because we do go through public input after this. We do present it to the cities. We present it to the council. But as we know, we present a summary of what we do to these. And they really don't get to see the meat of what we do. They get that summary. It's very expensive. This is going to be bid out. It's very expensive to have more meetings with whoever is hired to do this. We found that out when they had to have more meetings when we did the rate increase. It's like $2,500 to $3,000 every other meeting that you would have other than what is bid here. So we don't want to get into that or into that amount of money. We would prefer everyone know about these meetings so that they know that they will be here and can talk to them at that time, and we're willing to pay for it. So please let everyone that has appointed you or talked to you know that this is coming up. They will be getting this information. They can call Mr. Knight, find out when they can be here and what is going on, because we really would like for them to be here through some of these discussions.
You're talking about the additional cost is the consultant's cost, not, yeah.
The consultant's cost, not,
Right.
well, it costs us to do it again too with
Sure, it
employees,
does,
but
they charge us.
right, we're bidding a certain number of meetings, and we're gonna make everyone aware of them. And we want them to use that time to come in and talk with the consultant and interact with them and get this information, rather than 30 days later saying, well, we want you to have him come back in. We don't need to have anyone come back in at that price.
They wouldn't respect us if we did.
No.
Madam Chairman, I know from experience that some mayors, either by their nature or by deliberate action, do not want their council members to know of Solid Waste Authority Board matters. And they, either by indifference or anyway, they just don't. Some council members would like to be more involved and more aware and more who, what, where, when, why, and how, and all that. So did I understand you say that we would not just send something to the mayor and say, send this to your council persons, that we would contact the council persons also?
I think we need to not only send it to the administrator, but to the mayor's office. And what, doesn't the clerk of council send this out to the council?
I would think they would, but I don't know how some of the cities
Right.
do, but we will certainly send it to the mayor and to the administrators, or to let them know. They'll be advertised, there'll be public meetings, they'll be here, and we encourage the board to come, as many as you can. This will probably be one of the most important rewrites that we've had.
I agree.
With what we're facing and what we're looking doing on the landfill. And we certainly want everyone to know, and we'll get it to the press and make sure that they know of the meetings. But we can't make them come.
But if they don't know, they can't come, and that's my point. And I understand where you're coming from. Some mayors don't want their people to know what. Anyhow, there's politics involved in there and hurt feelings, and you have to be careful. But if there's some way to make sure.
I don't want to be the only one hurt.
I don't blame you. And that's something maybe you and Chairman can work on. I know some council members, they say, well, I didn't know about that, or I was told, no, I'm not supposed to go to those League of Cities meetings. That's just for the mayors. I mean, you know,
We will do our best to make sure that everyone gets the message where these meetings are involved, because they should have the right to come and the right to know it's here.
okay.
And I'd like to see them here, and I'd at least like for them to be aware of it, to have that opportunity.
and they're public, and any member of the public can come and sit and listen, and it'd be great if the room was full. No problem there, but it's gonna take a lot of work, a lot of time. We're looking at least 5 public meetings to include the board meeting and include it with the mayors and Mr. Lazarus, so we'll be.
You characterize it as the most important, and you may not remember, you said blue light or something like that kind of.
Yeah,
What?
it's a update of the management plan. This year will probably be one of the most important improvement in the plans that we've gone through. A lot of things that we're doing, recycling, diversion programs, additional landfill space, and how we're trying to save that. And there's a lot going on, and I certainly want to get a lot of that on the table with this group. We don't run it, the group runs it, but I expect to give them as much information as we can get on the table for them to discuss. And Mr. Ives was on it last year, and those last 4, it's got to be somebody in the private recycling, private haulers, and couple from the community being involved in environmental type issues. And they're picked by the other 8. But if we got a standing member, and we take these to be standing members on the committee, but it's totally up to the cities and the county on their representation.
I get what you're saying, and I forgot who I was speaking with just the last day or two, but in my short tenure here, I've seen us do a morphing or metamorphosis, transformation. When I got here and before, the major emphasis was on, well, let's get all the garbage we can and put it here on. I noticed in this memo here, they called it, some other place, they called it Mount Trashmore, but put it in our hole or on our mountain. But now, in the last several years, it's not that we're lessening our emphasis there, but what we've been working on, let's do what we need to do with the landfill, but let's keep it out of the landfill, because we know that we're entering into the last cell or last acre or whatever, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we sure don't want to cross over the line of having to pay to export our wet garbage. So I get what you're saying, what Chairman is saying, that this may be the most important one that we've had in a good while in the past. We could kind of dress up what we've been doing, but this has got to be new, a new approach.
That's true, and we are going to be looking at all that. New approaches, new diversion techniques, new recycling techniques, hopefully some things that are not going to be allowed in the landfill anymore, the amount of space we can do, and different ways of expanding things so that we can look, and our children and grandchildren can look to the life of this landfill. And all of that is going to really be on the table and discussed, and plans are going to be made for those things this year. Thank you. Is that your last?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We don't have any committee reports. We didn't have any committees meet. Do we have any old business? Okay. Do we have any new business, roundtable discussion?
I wanted to ask Danny something.
Okay.
Danny, what was the name of the police chief that was up there at North Myrtle for so long? Merlin, what was his name?
Merlin Bellamy.
Yeah, I remember when we first got into it, my private business, we first got into, it's called detention equipment industry, jails and prisons. But anyway, we had to meet those pre-bid qualifications of 5 to 10 years of doing this in facilities of this size for 5 to 10 years, blah, blah, blah. And, when you're getting started, you don't have all that. So we got letters from various towns that we'd worked for, and one of them was his jail. And, of course, I knew his jail from both sides. We worked.
Tell us about it. Inside and out.
But anyway, he wrote a letter that didn't have anything to do with the technicalities of it. But I've been knowing these boys for so long, you know how you.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, we got qualified, and after the meeting, I asked the architect, I said, yeah, I know we didn't have the best of credentials up there. And I said, why'd you let us in? He said, is that fella up there in North Myrtle Beach? He said, given what he said, I knew you boys were gonna work hard to do this thing right. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, he was something.
Okay, anything else for roundtable discussion? We do not have an executive session tonight, so we will accept the motion to adjourn.
So move.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you.